So alcohol was a little bit different for me being on carnivore diet. I went to a wedding last night for my beautiful cousin, and I've been on carnivore for the last 2.5 weeks, which you pretty much feel the difference very quickly once you get on a diet that is filled with so many nutrients. So I was interested to see how my body would do with alcohol because I basically almost became allergic to it like many years ago. I diagnosed myself with Asian flush syndrome, which is like common amongst Asians, that they're missing an enzyme in the liver to break down alcohol. So it's basically like really fast alcohol poisoning. Because like years ago, I was getting all these symptoms of like my face flushing and my heart racing and getting sick when I drink. But anyway, so I was interested to see, now that I've been feeling different with carnivore, how I would do with alcohol. So I had like 2.5 pretty decently strong martinis, and I had a shot of something. And usually I'm like really, really a lightweight. Like I wouldn't be able to probably have more than one martini. But I felt fine. I felt fine. I don't miss like the fog of what it feels like to drink. Like this morning, I brought my own food to we were staying at a hotel. I did not want to eat that hotel breakfast, so I brought my own ground beef and butter. And so I had some of that, and that helped me feel a little bit more hydrated. I definitely felt dehydrated waking up. And since my mom, she had this roast beef sandwich for lunch, and she gave me the other half. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have this roast beef sandwich. So that, let me go back. The piece of cake that I had at the wedding that I was really looking forward to, it was delicious, but it was so sweet, and it kind of hurt my stomach. And then I had that roast beef sandwich today, and that just like, that made my heart race, and I was like, I don't need this right now, but it tasted good. It tasted so good. But now I'm back on the carnivore diet, now that we had our little fun. But yeah, what I like about it is that it's deeply nourishing. It's the most nutrient dense food source, like ground beef, like a good quality too. It has all of the amino and fatty acids that we require, that we call essential. So what it's doing is, it's like you're allowing your body to like receive and nourish and be in abundance. And something people were telling me, a few people told me yesterday, Rachel, you're so tan. I'm like, because I'm eating all this tyrosine, I'm eating all this phenylalanine, I'm eating all this iron, all these nutrients that help our body to produce melanin so that we can go into the sun and interact with the sun. And, we want to be able to do that because the sun is so healing. And years ago, like around that time period that I said I became allergic to alcohol, I was so pale, and my shape of my body, like I lost a lot of muscle and was more, more overweight. I don't, my particular shape too, like, I just look better when I'm fit. Some people hold their weight and they hold a little bit of extra weight, but they hold it really well. I don't think I've ever been one of those types of people. So anyway, and I would go into the sun and I would burn too, because when you're eating all the seed oils, when you're eating so much sugar, the body, it like can't even compute. When you're going in the sun, it's just like overload, fry, burn, damage to DNA, and then recovery from that. So our food, especially protein, like that's one of the biggest things on carnivore diet people say, is that like they can go into the sun and they can actually tan and like not use sunscreen. Like I was laying out the middle of the day yesterday or the day before, and I didn't need sunscreen. Now if I went to the beach or something, like maybe I would, because that's a lot of reflective light too. But I just think it's really amazing. The thing with oral health as well, you notice that you don't have as much plaque on the teeth. And there's a doctor named Elizabeth Bright who is a naturopath physician. She treats people, she treats people with metabolic disease, and she starts them off with a carnivore, high fat carnivore diet. She talks about how, and this is one of the reasons why I started the carnivore diet again, really and truthfully. She talks about how the first part of the digestive system is supposed to be sterile. Like, we're not supposed to have sugar sitting on our teeth, forming this bacteria that decays our teeth, inflames our gums, and we know the connection between like our mouth and our heart. And so anyway, she talks about that, which is just like, it's so common sense if you think about it. Like, the more sugar that we're eating, because you'll notice if you do a carnivore diet and you're not eating all that sugar, there's nothing to sit on the teeth and form these plaques. It's interesting, it kind of makes you re-question, rethink everything, kind of about like, how we were raised and what we've grown up to be. And there's this, I guess the last thing that I want to talk about too is, I don't, people will talk about like their symptoms around me, and I have learned in the past just to be quiet, mind my own business. I'm not always good at that. But, unless people ask me for advice, then I don't give it. But someone around me yesterday was talking about eczema and how they have had this random flare-up of eczema since around COVID, and it started and they don't know why. But I like to look at eczema, and they said this to me, and I literally, like, there's just this deep passion in my heart to help people understand like what the symptoms are. I woke up like this morning with just the sentence and just this rush of wave. It's like, eczema is a thermodynamic issue of the body, of the system. Eczema is entropy. Eczema is, there's too much inflammation, and I'm going to give it to you in terms of, I'm going to show you on your skin. The immune system is like, it's funny, it's not funny, but it shows up with redness, we just have all these different names for things, itis, and flare-ups of the skin of this redness, dryness. We don't look at it as like a symptom, like our skin is our immune system, and it's like on fire essentially. So that's what I was saying, is a thermodynamic issue. The body is like releasing too much heat, and in every disease state we'll see a buildup of like acidity in the body. Metabolic could be metabolic waste. The body's not able to get rid of metabolic waste. There's just too high sugar levels, too high stress levels, leading to elevated sugar levels. It's a thermodynamic issue. So the system is excreting too much heat. It's like a car with too much heat, or even like a computer, like your phone. If it overheats, enzymes will denature, proteins will denature, the system goes into chaos, and there has to be a certain amount of order to things. That's all what entropy is that as we grow, as the universe expands, it expands into chaos and disorder. It's really easy to see this if you're thinking about like a small country town. Everybody knows everybody. Like, if you do something wrong, everybody knows about it. There's more sympathy, more respect towards others, because someone, like, if you don't directly know that person, you know somebody that knows that person. There's more empathy. And when you go into bigger cities like Houston and Dallas, and the people drive like they don't care about your life. Like, there's such a loss, there's higher crime rates, there's such a loss of empathy, and there's a loss of order and structure. If you look at the body, the order and the structure is our muscle mass. Our muscle mass orders and structures our skeletal system. Our muscle mass pushes our lymph flow back into our heart, circulates our blood flow and our function, and pushes everything up to our brain so that we can think and integrate everything, integrate all of our experiences. So when the inflammation is high, when the heat levels are high, the immune system is overworking, that's why a lot of people will reverse their eczema, reverse their psoriasis through a carnivore diet, because you are dropping entropy. You are dropping every anti-nutrient that you wouldn't need, because plants have defense mechanisms. Phytates, tannins, oxalates, lectins, they be fighting. And it's powerful plant medicine. Plant medicine is very powerful. But while the system is going through too much entropy, it could be helpful to be like, why do people, get all this help, besides it being the most nutrient-dense food on the planet? So I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just enthusiastic about my own experience with it. And I'm really, really just blown away by all the stories that I've been listening to, like this lady with Parkinson's and stuff. It's like these people are suffering, and they turn, like, I listened to the story yesterday of this lady with a tumor on her brainstem, and it was like, she did the carnivore diet, and it was like, it's just amazing. There's so many stories. That podcast was No Carb Life, if you're out there looking, okay? I encourage people to look. But, so the only eating protein and fat is allowing the body to mimic starvation state without actually going into starvation, because you're getting a ton of nutrients in. So they discovered that by doing this, by fasting people with extreme epileptic seizures, tons of seizures per day, they did better with the fasting. So they were like, okay, let me apply a fat and protein diet to the ketogenic diet for the body and see if it helps with the seizures. And it sure did, and they started using it in the medical industry in the 1920s, and people still use it to treat some doctors will use it, like Dr. Anthony Chaffee. He's really great. Y'all should look him up. They have Steak and Butter Girl too. I like listening to her mistakes that she's made. They made a lot of mistakes. She was 6 years vegan, strict vegan, until her health literally declined so much she had to completely reverse the other way. And she talks about transitioning from strict vegan to carnivore overnight, and how that was a huge transition for her. They talk about oxalate dumping. I had never heard of that before, but basically those oxalate, those plant chemical defenses, they can store up in our body. And in the carnivore community, there's been a lot of people who transition from vegan to carnivore, and they experience this dumping. It's like they'll have crystals coming out of their eyes and stuff. Crazy. But anyway, it's just beautiful. It's wonderful. Our bodies are so intelligent. They're always healing if they just have the basic essential, and we're carnivore diet too. Like, I haven't said much, but it's like the B vitamins is probably the biggest thing. B12, these B vitamins work as cofactors, coenzymes to larger chemical reactions. So when we have low levels of B vitamins, there comes a cost for low zinc, low magnesium, low B vitamins. All this stuff is selenium, is a helper in creating glutathione. So like any supplement you could look at and be drawn towards, then you say, what is the amino acid complex of this supplement? Or you could Google like glutathione biochemistry, or anything. Put the biochemistry at the end of the word. Do your own research. But anyway, I'm gonna go. I hope this is helpful for you in some way. If you have skin issues of any type, high fat, high protein, it's what our body's made of. And we can actually, we are so intelligent, so beautiful, we can produce our own sugar in our body. It's called gluconeogenesis. So you have glucose, regular blood sugar levels. That's why a lot of people go to carnivore ketogenic diet to help metabolic disease, because it keeps the glucose level. And gluconeogenesis, our body is always it creates beautiful, beautiful things all the time. Melanogenesis, neurogenesis, it's beautiful. Anyway, I wish you the best of luck and the sweetest of dreams, and I will catch you later.